Welcome to the second episode in our special AcadeCon 2023 Spotlight series, everyone. This episode, I got to sit down with one of our patrons, Carlos Salazar, to check out the alpha playtest of his new game, Under and Above. It was a fantastic experience, and we came up with something truly amazing and very weird. So I hope you all enjoy it. Before we get to the episode, though, this is what you can expect in the call to action.
After the show, you can join us back here to hear about the new Star-Crossed expansion that's currently crowdfunding on Backerkit, as well as other podcast episode ending stuff.
Yeah. Until then, enjoy the show, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of Character Creation Cast, everyone. In this series, we'll be shining a light on some current or up-and-coming games to keep an eye out for, live from AcadeCon 2023. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan, and today I am here at AcadeCon in a private room welcoming Carlos Salazar to talk about Under and Above, an isekai RPG where you play as people interacting with a world adjacent to ours. Carlos, really great to have you here.
It's great to be here. I have to just shout out Character Creation Cast at the top of the episode because I probably wouldn't be here without Character Creation Cast. It was like listening to you guys is sort of what inspired me to start.
Well, there you go.
Designing. So
I'm so excited. I heard a little bit about this and I am super interested to see what it's all about. So let's start off with you. Carlos, can you tell us a bit about yourself, your pronouns, and what sort of projects you have work going on, if you have anything going on outside of this game?
So I use he, him pronouns. I live in Detroit. In my day job, I'm a bilingual education teacher. I am kind of always fiddling with a couple of things. I'm running a Gamma World game that is sort of like a pet project that is heavily changed and edited. So there's that, but that's sort of just, that's like home fiddling in my garage, more or less. This is the major thing that I'm working on right now. And when this is done, I have a bunch of projects that are sort of bouncing around in the back of my head. But this is where I'm sitting right now.
Once you start one game design, you always get at least 5 more ideas of, hey, maybe this would make a good game too. I know how that goes.
I mean, I think especially like this is definitely the game that I wanted to see in the world that doesn't exist where it is. And then when I started, or as it is, and when I started making this one, I was like, oh, there's a bunch of other games I would like to see in the world that don't exist.
Exactly. So why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, since this is an abridged version of our normal format, we're going to be sticking to the highlights of the system with a special focus on character creation. So without further ado, how about we find out what this game is all about?
What's in a game?
All right. Carlos, could you start off by telling us a bit about the core concept for Under and Above?
So one of my favorite books in high school that sort of changed how I looked at fantasy was Neverwhere. So that's the seed, but when I read Neverwhere, I was like looking for other things like that. As I got older, sort of some of Clive Barker's stuff that has other worlds that are even more sinister than what Neil Gaiman was working with. And it's just all of that, like Chino Mieville is in that mix. I sort of think of the 3 main inspirations as Clive Barker, Chino Mieville, and Neil Gaiman. But I mean, there's other things that pop up, like, of course, like The Wizard of Oz and Narnia like similar things. Like little bits of isekai anime, although I think it's the easiest touchstone or like sort of the broadest touchstone that people generally have. But it's maybe not the main inspiration. But if I'm elevator pitching it, then that's that's sort of what I go with. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Very cool. Well, what sort of settings then do we play in this game? And then what do characters do in the game?
So for settings, you sort of decide what the above is. So what the real world or the world that we live in is, like where that is located. So it could be Chicago. I've also, like Labyrinth is also a big inspiration. So, you know, just general suburbia is can definitely also be one of the above settings. And for the under settings are the below, and this is also, I'm working on terminology still. You sort of develop that in a session 0 at the table, and that'll be what we're doing today. What does that look like and how does it function?
Very cool.
Because all of the authors I mentioned, there's definitely a string through all of them, but they are also very different in what their underworlds look like. So
Absolutely. So then what do characters do in the game itself once you get into the settings?
So I think there's a lot of different kind of focuses that you can take as to what your characters do. I think a lot of it is based around journeys. A lot of it is also based on like having lost things and found things. There's sort of themes of found family, like what is a family, and where do you want to live, like the world that you want to live in, given a choice between two. There's also like themes of transformation. There's actually a transformation mechanic. It is a lot of the dangers are kind of punishing, and it's very easy to die. And it's also very easy to escape that because you have a fate tracker. So you have fate points, and then let me find where, it would be on the back of here. And then once you hit 7, you sort of have to make a deal with fate. So you change who there's 2 parts of the playbook. You change what your kin is. So it deals a lot with, transformation and also deciding who you want to be that way. And sort of also being in between, because after you fill your fate tracker, you get another one. But if you fill that one, you die unless you discard one of those kin.
Oh, interesting.
So sort of pushing towards that decision of what or who you want to be. And, it's also inspired by a lot of folklore, because it's like Beauty and the Beast, The Princess and the Frog, like various folklore where transformation is a big part of it. And I wanted to incorporate it, and I was sort of stuck as to how to do it. And that's where we're at now. We'll see where we go from here.
So then what materials do you need to play a game of under and above?
So you need at least 3d6 because it is a PBTA game that also uses advantage and disadvantage. So, sometimes you'll be rolling 3 dice and discarding 1. Sometimes you will also be using a D12. I'm playing around with sort of changing things so that you can only use D6s. But most people who are playing PBTA have a full set of dice lying around somewhere. Like it's I don't think that hard to come by. But you need a D12 for your touchstones if you want to roll them randomly during character creation. And then the other thing that is sort of my own thing and what I was playtesting today is the convince table, because a lot of folklore again is based around trickery, and I wanted characters to have something to do that's sort of a zoom in moment that was not combat. And also a lot of convince rolls kind of leave me feeling like not great. I feel like it's like you're trying to convince the DM, and it's like, if I'm in combat, I don't have to hit the DM with a sword. Or GM with a sword? Why do I have to convince the GM of something if my character is trying to convince them? It also sort of sometimes plays like mind control, which also feels weird. Like if you roll especially high and you're suddenly having this NPC do something that they would never do that goes against their character. So This is sort of me puzzling that out. And the hope is that it's also fun. Like, those were the problems, but the goal is also to make it a fun system to play through. So you need that printed out and ready to go.
Yeah, I think when I worked on my like convince someone move in Chimera, it was you convince somebody to do something that they were already kind of leaning towards wanting to do, right? You're not going to convince somebody that's like, they would never do this. That seems totally out of character. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited to figure out what that's all about too.
And a lot of the moves play into that. And there's also because a lot of, speaking to the other themes, and we're sort of getting off track from the questions here, but it is relevant to character creation. There's also a distrust tracker. So that shows where you start out on the convince table. And that changes during play, because sort of a lot of folklore is based around like questions of where do you fit into society. And a lot of, the novels that I mentioned, a lot of the novels and fiction that I mentioned also deal with that. So sort of puzzling that out. And a lot of the moves deal with that.
Oh, absolutely. Very cool. So what sort of characters can people make in this game then?
A lot of different kind of characters. Like I said, there's Kith and Kin. Your Kin, which is the first one that you make, is sort of like what in D&D would be sort of akin to a race, although it also has the potential to change. And some of them are not that at all. Like one of the Kin is a ghost. So you could be anybody who died. And that also makes sense with the transformation tracker, because like maybe you die and come back as a ghost. Maybe that's your transformation. But the basic Kin are an animated, so something that's like, this happens a lot in Wizard of Oz. So something that would be like the Tin Man, like something that is inanimate brought to life. A beast is an animal who is an intelligent animal, which is, part of folklore. A found is a human. I think I'm going to change this now. The text says a human born in the underground, but I think it's a human who calls the underground home. Okay. And that, I think, makes more sense to me. Yeah. A ghost, which I just mentioned, is a ghost in the underground. Then there are underfolk, which are, whoever happens to live in Labyrinth. It would be like the goblins and Hoggle and like the various people who are native to the underground. And then there's also the lost, which is sort of the other side to the found, which is a human that calls the above home. Oh, okay. And especially now with the change mechanics, that's why that goes back and forth, because the transformation that maybe saves you, right, is moving from being lost to being found, or vice versa. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very cool. And then as the other part, the Kith, there's a lot, but most of them are sort of mythical archetypes. So you've got the ruler, the fool, and then there are some exceptions specific to the genre. The explorer, so is somebody from above who is seeking out the underground, like the monster, the witch, the hunter, the trickster, and then the local is also somebody who lives in the underground and calls it home and is deeply a part of that society. Okay. And then the urban or suburban outsider is the person who is from above. So that is your Richard Mayhew's. Those are like the other people in these fictions that fall from above. Okay. Very cool. Oh, it sounds like we have probably enough to kind of go through a session 0 of this. Can we do that right now? Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's make some people. Okay.
Let's make some people.
So the session 0, and all of this is alpha testing, subject to change. But how I'm going to work it for the time being is you start with a seed. So you're not working from exactly nothing. So maybe a player brings something, or the GM brings something in my game because it is an urban fantasy game and because I also love hip hop. The GM is the DJ.
Oh.
And the players are MCs.
Nice.
The director of the journey and main characters. But the seed that I wanted to bring with, or I've wanted to play out, is sort of that the underground is the fairy realm, but fairies, when they have children, they turn into goblins. And they cast out the goblins, and they need to go above to change humans into changelings.
Oh.
So I think that's going to be our seed.
Okay.
And from there, we also decide if we want one of the characters to be a lost outsider. Like as a table, if we want sort of that archetype as part of the game. Because it changes what the game looks like.
Right.
If you want a human who calls the above home who falls into the underground by accident. So do we want that?
That's a good question. Cause like, you know, that's easy to picture because that's probably the most common type of like, you know, adjacent world sort of story that we see in a lot of media. But because of that, I think we should avoid it.
Okay, interesting. So let's mark no. Yeah, and for me, because like I think there still will be interactions between like the above and the underground. It just changes it. Like then you are almost exclusively people who are in the underground, and then something happens. It's sort of like almost a Fern Gully scenario, although Fern Gully also has that archetype.
Of course.
Is something from
I like the thought of us being people from the underground and then something weird happens.
Okay.
Right?
So then cool. So then we go right into the kin. So you sort of decide what sort of people, at least the players, are going to be as they populate the underground. So I'll let you have first pick. And if you choose an underfolk, right, because of our seed, you can say what fairies and goblins are like, because we like the seed leaves that ambiguous, or you could create something completely different.
Okay.
In that.
Kind of interested in the animated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are 2 world building questions.
Okay.
For each of those, and then then it becomes like part of a PBTA playbook, and you choose your appearance, and then you choose a feature. So some have a signature feature, and this is to differentiate them from moves, which is a big PBTA thing. And then especially if your signature feature has some sort of disadvantage, you would choose 2 features. If it's doesn't, or if you don't have a signature feature, you generally choose just 1 feature.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay.
So, and then the features keep going here, and then this is another part of playbook, because once again, shout out to Ryan Bolter. This is a combined playbook, so this fits in.
Yeah.
So the Kith playbook fits inside the Kith.
Yeah. So for those not familiar with Chimera, I created a system where you have a primary playbook and a secondary playbook. You fold them in a certain way, and they fit into one another, where one page of the primary matches with one page of the secondary. And you can flip them to the back, and those pages match as well. And it feels like this is going to be doing much of the same.
Yeah.
Which I love a lot.
So,
okay.
I think I'm going to play a beast.
Wonderful. Okay. An animated is something dead or unliving brought to life. I like that. I guess the question then is like, what sort of tone do we want for this? I mean, do we want something darker or something more upbeat?
I always tend darker, which I almost consider like a personality flaw. But it really depends on, I guess, how I'm feeling that day. But I tend to go darker. But, you know, it's also fun to play against type. So we could
Okay.
We could definitely go lighter.
I think I want to be something weird.
Okay.
I'm going to be an animated fungus.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. All right.
So an animated undead fungus made sentient.
And I'm going to play a beastly rat.
Nice. So I'm thinking kind of like myconids or so from D&D, only like less humanoid-ish and more undead. Like, yeah.
I am going to say, so my beast question is, are all animals of your species sentient in the underground? If yes, what role do they play in underground society? If no, how do you gain your sentience? I'm going to add that only rats are sentient and they lord it over other animals. So
let's see. How did I become animated? I think there's some sort of symbiote that attaches to these fungus or fungi as they die out, and then allows them to live on and occasionally spread, materials and stuff in further outreached areas that lets the symbiote kind of like procreate effectively, right? So it's like expanding the colony by making these fungi mobile and sentient, right?
Yep.
Which is that sounds fascinating and weird.
Yes. I don't think I've ever had that approach to the animated, but I think as I've like thought through it in my head, but I think it works perfectly.
Yeah. This is me trying to break your game. So
fantastic.
Absolutely. Okay. And I think this is pretty common. This is a common occurrence. The symbiotes been around for a while, and with the fungi, and it gives the fungi, like, they've got, I think, a collective consciousness when they're alive, but when parts of them die off, right, then that piece of them is no longer part of the consciousness, and so this symbiote comes along and brings them back to life and gives them that consciousness again, but now it's an individual consciousness instead of part of the hive.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So you kind of have like two societies going on here, with a collective non-mobile fungi colony, and then the dead of that colony come back with portions of the collective's memory.
Right.
Okay. Are we weird enough yet?
I think so.
Awesome.
There's a fungus and a rat.
And a rat.
We're starting. So
yeah. How do other residents of the underground react when they see us or see me? I think it's kind of normal at this point. So I don't think they question it too much. I think they keep a little bit of a distance, but it's only because we smell a little weird.
Right. Musty.
Yeah, we smell musty. All right, and I think I figured out a character name. This is Charles.
I'm going to wait until I have my Kith. I sort of have a rough idea of what I want to play, but...
Yeah, I just wanted a really normal name for this really not normal individual. Charles's pronouns are he, they, she, it.
Fantastic. I think I'm going to go with normal names. I think I'm going to be Timothy also. So it's Timothy and Charles.
I think...
very mundane.
Yeah, for my appearance, though, I'm hulking. And shifting features. Like... Part of Charles' thing at being a fungus is some parts will fall off, and then as I absorb other fungal material, I grow new sprouts and stuff here and there. So I'm constantly kind of changing as I go through life.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Which that was me reading ahead a little bit to my signature feature too. So.
I think I'm going to have he, him pronouns. I'm going to be immaculate. I'm a very well put together, or at least very well groomed rat, and I'm going to have a scary face.
I like it.
Sort of the scary, beady rat face.
Very good. All right. So then it looks like we move on to our signature features, right?
Mm-hmm. And usually it's chosen for you.
Yeah. So my signature feature is not born, but made. You are artificially animated. You don't need to eat, sleep, breathe, or eat. You can heal, but not as other characters do. So choose one. So I chose absorb what you're made of and roll the same as Tinker plus Merc. So that kind of comes into what I said before, the constantly changing fungal patterns is because I'm absorbing other fungi, non-sentient, non-collective minded fungi. And that becomes part of me and heals me, but it also changes my appearance a bit.
That makes sense. Yep. My signature move is animals should not try to act like people. Based on your animal, you lack hands and can probably only manipulate things with your mouth or claws. Take -1 on any tinker or artful dodge where fine manipulation is necessary. This is a previous draft, so this will be take advantage, and I need to change that. I mean, take disadvantage, excuse me. Take disadvantage.
Yeah.
Where your fine manipulation is necessary. You are sentient and intelligent, but you lack speech. You can only talk with others of your own kind or a character who has a move allowing them to talk to animals.
Very cool. I like that a lot. I was picturing a humanoid rat, and now it's just a regular rat.
It's just a rat. Yep.
That's perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so next, we have to choose 2 more features now?
It depends on the kin, but yeah. So I have 3 because animals should not try to act like people is almost purely negative. So I balanced it out.
That's pretty nice.
And then because there are some negative elements to the signature feature, but it's not exclusively that animated choose 2.
Oh, very good. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of good options here. This is almost perfect. One of these. Where do these memories come from? Like, I didn't even read ahead on this one. And like, this is whatever is animating you was once alive and sentient. And while you do not remember who you were, sometimes a current situation will cause memories to flare back. And whenever you would like something in the current scene to bring back old memories, roll plus Merc. And then there's some PBTA results down below, which looks fascinating. But like that fits perfectly with, I was part of a hive mind, and now I have some of those fuzzy memories from the hive, and now I'm making my own.
Yep.
Nice.
I have mine picked out. So small, which makes sense for a rat.
Yeah.
You can fit into small spaces that much larger creatures could not. Speech. So I am a talking rat.
Very good.
And then I chose enhanced senses, enhanced hearing, and a tracking smell.
Nice. I think I'm going to go with armor for my other feature. I was between that and strong, right? Because I could see this being kind of like a big hulking monstrosity of an animated creature, but I want to take armor because I think this is more Iron Giant sort of feel to the character where they want to protect and not necessarily harm.
Okay. Great. So I think that's good.
It looks like banes and drawbacks.
Yes. So some also have banes and drawbacks.
Okay.
So you, as an animated, you have to choose a drawback.
Okay. So the bane is a common substance or occurrence such as fire. If you are wood, does major damage when someone uses it as a weapon against you, or any other situation in which it would do minor harm. For every scene that it is touching you, you take a condition. The bane, I'm going to say salt.
Makes sense.
I don't know too much about fungi, but I do know salt does weird things to it when you cook it. So why not?
All right.
And a drawback, choose a drawback. Let's see. See, loud operation doesn't make sense. Big kind of makes sense. Clumsy hands also could work. I think I'm going to go with big, though. This seems like a really large fungal mass, which just sounds terrifying.
All right, so we already know more about the underground based on that, and we sort of have an idea of characters that we want to play. So now we continue with the world building.
Perfect.
So the first question is, where is the above? So frequently it'll be a city.
Yeah.
It can just be general suburbia, like I mentioned.
What if it's like, because I'm getting like dank sort of underground area, right? Because of the rats and the fungus and everything like that. What if it's like the bayou?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Okay. Okay, so we're in I like that.
Yeah.
So how are the above and below separated? There is no barrier. Under folks stay below for another reason. People stumble below by accident, but the barrier is physical. The below can receive the above, but not vice versa. You can enter the below, but few know how to get back, or something else.
What would be a good selection for fairy circles, like the circles of mushrooms?
Yep.
Like I think those are a portal between the above and the below.
I think you can enter the below, but few know how to get back.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. So what is the between, like what is the space between? Is it a threshold, a way station between worlds, a world unto itself, something else?
Oh, that's super interesting.
It might just be a threshold. You might just cross over and be in the below.
I want to say it's like a brief interlude.
Okay.
Through it's kind of like like the classic wormhole travel sequence, right? But like or like Alice falling through the rabbit hole into Wonderland, right? I think it's that, but like you're going through like marshy, mucky, like mossy water. That's what it feels like. And you get all that slimy sort of feel as you're passing through, and then you pop out on the other side, but you're perfectly fine. You're perfectly dry.
Right. Okay. So like mossy river, water flowing.
Yeah. It's like really gross, but like once you pop out, you're fine. So it's like this little, oh my gosh, panic sort of moment.
And then on the other side, it's just A-okay.
Yeah.
Very gross. And then, okay.
Yep.
So what is the below? A world hidden by physical barriers, a twisted, strange reflection of the above, a part of the above that sunk below, a magical world separate from the above, or something else.
I want to say, what if it was like a, because like one of my thoughts is like, well, what if it's like the like Stranger Things sort of upside down or whatever, right? But like, which is like a mirror of the actual world,
right? But
I want to say it's separate, but it works just like an underground cavern system, like underneath the entire planet. That if you traveled in real time 10 miles that way and found a fairy circle, you'll pop out a fairy circle in the real world.
Okay.
In the same location. Only, you never know what's going to match up unless you like really map it out, right?
So it's a magical world separate from the above, and we can like add that. It maps onto the above.
Yeah.
Spatially.
Exactly. Which feels very Zelda the new Zelda game where they have the underground and the above ground, mapping 1-to-1,
Mhm.
and then there's the entrance points there. Coincidentally, yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
So the next part is describe the below, and like part of this is going to be play to find out, right?
Yeah.
But like just sort of so that we have a jumping off point.
Mhm.
Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Like, is how populated is it?
Mhm.
Like, does it feel like the Upside Down in Stranger Things where it's completely desolate?
Okay.
Or does it feel like The Wizard of Oz or Neverwhere where it's teeming with stuff?
Like, part of me wants to think it's teeming with stuff, but like in a way that Muppet movies are teeming with stuff.
I think that's great. Yeah. Teaming, like, and honestly, like, sort of, I'm also getting like Jim Henson, like Dark Crystal vibes, like when they're in the forest and there's like, there are creatures everywhere. Teeming with life. I think it's kind of pastoral. Like, I'm also getting sort of pastoral vibes instead of urban vibes, which is sort of interesting to me.
I like the thought of like it's all underground, it's all caverns, right? But like huge, expansive caverns. So you can have like fields and forests of like weird stuff down here. And the caverns are so tall that you don't really know that you're underground because like there's some bioluminescent stuff going on in the ceiling of the caverns that creates kind of like a constant moonlight, or like maybe even during the day, like filters sunlight from the above world to brighten things up.
So some of it is so bright it seems like day sometimes. Okay, cool.
Because then you can have like day-night cycles. You can have like all sorts of like more enclosed places. You could have caves within the cave. Like there's a lot of options to play with there.
Yep, absolutely. Where does everyone meet up in the below? What does it look like? I always like the idea of sort of a floating market. Like, but as I say that, like having some sort of, even if it's separate from sort of the fairy, if it's just like goblins and the other creatures, sort of like almost a council or a senate, like the goblin court, or even court sounds like to the goblin council, or
what about a caravan? Like the goblin caravan?
The goblin caravan, and then all the other creatures flock there. Goblin caravan.
And so there's like some folks that will live with the caravan itself, and they've got these like mobile homes that some people have created. So over time, the caravan has turned into a small village to
like
town.
a traveling, like a traveling city eventually.
Effectively, yeah.
How do people survive in the below?
I think community is probably the big thing.
I think so, yeah.
If you're by yourself, it's very dangerous. So like sticking together is how you survive.
Okay. What does the below generally look like? I feel like we already covered that.
Yeah.
Like
that feels right.
What do people fear in the below? Like the
darkness.
Interesting.
The darkness holds monsters.
The darkness holds monsters. Okay.
Like one of the most terrifying things these people can experience is the bioluminescence going out.
I think because it's in the bayou, right? One of the monsters has to be some sort of gator.
Yeah, some sort of like gator adjacent, like not straight up alligator, right? But like alligator monstrosity.
Yeah.
Like there's some sort of Cthulhian like influence here. Eldritch horror gator.
Eldritch gator.
Yeah.
And we'll play to find out its name.
Exactly.
Right. It's probably like one of those things. Dare not speak its name.
It's a Geldritch.
Yeah, Geldritch. Put that in parentheses. Who is somebody almost everybody trusts in the below?
That's a good one. There's got to be like, because like I immediately think of like the Wheel of Time. There's the Gleeman in the Wheel of Time.
I only read one of the books, and it was a long time ago.
Right. So the Wheel of Time is fantasy world, and the Gleeman are entertainers, right? But like they can do all sorts of things. They're like acrobatic bards, basically, cranked up to 11, effectively.
Okay, interesting.
And like everybody in the world's like, oh, you're a Gleeman? Wow. Here, let me get this for you. Let me do this for you. You're so amazing. You tell the best stories. You're the most entertaining thing in the world. So like part of me is like, are the people that bring joy and levity to this harsh world the people that are the most trusted?
I think that's really interesting. So maybe even just calling them storytellers for right now. They're storytellers, and they'd also probably be like the news, right? Like telling like this where you hear about what is happening on the rest of the so they're like storytellers, but they're also like journalists. Maybe we could call them journey people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the journey people are something that these people kind of look to when they get to a new community, is like, hey, talk to the journey person over there. They'll tell you what's going on. But then if you catch their show tonight, boy, you're going to get a good story with it. Yep.
And the last question, I think we sort of answered this with the seed, but maybe it's more complex than that. Who holds power in the below?
It kind of does feel like the goblins are holding power, or at least the fairies, perhaps.
I think maybe the fairies hold power in one part, and the goblins hold power in another.
Yeah, I think it's like a subset of the fairies, though. Okay, I want to say there's multiple types of fairies, right? And there's like a
it's like goblins hold power in the free underground, right? And the free below.
Yeah.
And then fairies have their little kingdom.
Yeah, there's like royal fairies that I'm not sure what I would love to play to find out for that. Yeah. But I'm not sure what form they take, but I think there's these royal fairies that are like nobody knows their true motives. Like they seem benevolent, but like there's plenty of like, well, that seems weird but okay stuff that they do that makes it kind of sketchy. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that are like doubting. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about the royal fairies.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now that we did world building, we're gonna do sort of adventure and group building.
Sure.
I'm just gonna do a time check. Oh, I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
So what brings your group together? And it's sort of the same person below wronged all of you. You have worked out a deal, and each of you is getting something from the other. You seek the same place or substance below. Some of you are helping the other find their way home. You are guns for hire, and one of the players has hired you. You seek the same powerful force below. You are sinking something or somebody from above who is now lost. One of you made a terrible deal with something below, and the others are trying to help you out of it for their own reasons or something else.
I like the one where we made a deal with each other to help each other out. I wonder if both of us ended up like just coincidentally in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I wonder if it was a matter of like, well, we got separated from the people we were with, and we're the only people around here, so we may as well help each other out if we want to get out of this alive.
Okay, so they got separated from their group and found each other alone in the below. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever had a campaign or ever played in a campaign that's because that's pretty general. But I've never like played in a campaign that like was sort of the seed.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Okay. What are we looking for as we start the game? I'm probably trying to find our way back, right?
I think we're trying to find our way back.
Okay. Who can help you during the first adventure?
Oh, that's interesting. Let's
see.
We got all sorts of things that we've created here.
Yeah.
I think we have to seek out a mushroom colony, a fungal colony that I'm not familiar with.
A fungal colony. And that is potentially very fraught for your character.
Yeah. And I want to say this colony has never seen the symbiotes before.
Right.
Which is very odd for my character.
Yep.
And yours too.
Yep. Because it would be completely.
Yeah, I would throw a seed in there as well of like somehow we ended above, got chased, and then came back down below, and now we don't know how to get back because everything was just a wide open field above.
Yeah.
Maybe we were chased by like a dog or a wolf or something like that we've never seen before.
Right.
And so then we get down, there's another fairy. Let's get down there now. And then we got down there and we're like, well, where the heck are we?
I tried to ask for directions and the rat just looked at me. Okay, so why hasn't the fungal colony helped you yet?
I think there's a language barrier.
Okay, so language barrier. So that is...
like the dialect is like too weird and like everybody looks at me like you should know how to speak to us. But
yep.
Yeah, so I think there's just confusion, just rampant confusion.
Who wants to stop us?
Who wants to stop us? The stuff in the darkness.
Okay, the stuff in the darkness. So there is a language barrier, and we tried to like make a connection with that fungus, right? And they probably were just like, I don't know. And then they sort of like went away, and then we found ourselves like sort of in a place where we have to cross the darkness.
Yeah, we have to cross the darkness to get somewhere that will be like perhaps to something that will be able to understand us better. Yeah.
So haven't they stopped you yet? Because we have not yet entered the darkness.
Yeah.
Entered the darkness. And where do we start our journey? About to go in.
About to go in.
Yep. Okay. So that's world and group building.
Amazing.
So it sort of is a way to also, for me, to get like the players invested in like the story.
Exactly.
And it's sort of how I've started to run my games in general. And I think it's a good tool to give people who are playing your game.
Absolutely.
So now that we've done that, we choose our actual more playbooky playbooks.
Beautiful.
So, which would you like?
Let's see. What is the hidden monster all about?
The hidden monster is an object of fear in the underground. So, but each of these also have a signature move that's almost like your alignment, not close, but like has mechanics behind it. So you're either like a monster and nobody knows you're a monster, or everybody treats you like a monster and it's actually not accurate, or it's not exactly fair. So
yeah, I kind of want to say hidden monster makes a little bit of sense for my character in terms of like the undead fungal people have the capacity to be monstrous.
Yep.
And like it's not only the smell, it's also like, don't upset the Wookiee sort of situation.
Yep. No, that makes sense. So that actually, you already, in some ways, chose your signature move.
Not always a beast, huh?
Yep. And I think I'm going to be a local, which is almost...
I like that.
Well,
my starting distrust is 10.
Yep. So I'm going to take Homie, which is the signature move for the local is Homie or Hater. But I'm going to choose Homie. Try to be friendly. And then you pick one solo move and one group move.
Okay. I love the everything floats down here name.
Yeah.
I like the what can pierce its hide. It's good for my character, which gives me an extra armor each session.
I'm going to take Runner. So you travel the underground extensively. When you find the way, you take advantage.
Okay, and then for group moves, I'm going to take Don't Listen to Them, which means I can console you when another character takes distrust. I can share a moment where you console them, and then or encourage violence. And if you console, the player can clear a minor harm. If you encourage violence, they can take +1 forward to throw down. I think the first one would happen more, but I think I love the option of like, you made me angry.
Yep. I think I'm going to take Coward's Redemption as my group move, which is, so you know the dangers of the underground well, and sometimes that gets the better of you. Flee a scene where other players are in danger. If your conscience gets the better of you and you come back, you either return with a useful piece of gear or take advantage to face the threat. If you do not return until after the danger is over, you and the other player of your choice mark an experience.
Very nice.
And then you pick gear. Usually it's just...
I do have stats on here for mine.
Oh, yes. Oh, what did I do? Oh, well.
Did you forget stats on that one?
I forgot stats on that one.
Oh, this is alpha playtest material.
This is alpha playtest material, yep.
There you go. Yeah, so here we would pick stats, and it looks like I've got 5 different arrays of stats to pick from, which gives me values for my dark, light, murk, roar, and whisper. I think I'm going to go dark +2.
I should maybe explain what these mean. This would be a
I like
good
it
time.
being ambiguous, but yeah, what do these mean?
So if you go to the back, it shows sort of the moves. So dark is when you are trying to do things that are sort of sneaky or dexterous.
Okay.
Light is sort of more general intelligence, but it also can be emotional intelligence because talk through is sort of how you deal with trauma.
Yeah.
Murk is sort of more the magic, but it's also like knowledge of the underground, like closeness to the underground. So you use that to learn a trick, which is the magic system, which we didn't even cover. It's also to find the way. So to find your way around the underground or to teach a trick. Roar is like strength and violence. So break, throw down, pile on. And then whisper is more social skills. So rumor walk, which is how you find information out when you're talking to somebody, convince, and also hype up, which is how you help somebody who is.
So then what I'm going to do is then instead I'll do dark +1, light -1, murk +1, roar +2, and whisper of 0.
Okay.
Which gives me a nice little array there.
Yep. And then, so most of the stuff that you're tracking, just a design note, goes on the back. And I wanted that to sort of be all in the same place. So, as much as possible. So, and then I will fully correct that, or at least add an addendum for if anybody else plays a local when I playtest tomorrow, because I have it saved. It just somehow did not make it into the sheet.
Yeah.
So, let's hear it for alpha playtesting, everybody.
I know, right? So for my gear, I'm going to name it Spores and make it close range.
Okay.
So I emit spores that can do minor harm.
Okay. I am going to have one of my teeth is encased in steel, and that's going to be intimate. So steel tooth. choose one other useful thing.
One useful thing. I'm going with tools of bone, but these are tools that I have just accidentally picked up.
Okay.
And they've become part of me.
Interesting. I'm going to choose a home in the underground, which I think will become more relevant with time. A small pet seems weird.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess I could do that and just have like a mouse as a pet.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to. So, okay, I can fill in my starting trust, which is going to be,
there you go.
5. So I wanted to go to Touchstones. So Touchstones are your wants, values, and fears. So and I need to reorder this so that they match the Touchstones here.
Mm-hmm.
But your wants are sort of the things that money can buy.
Okay.
Your values are like things that you care about and like the things that money can't buy are potentially more ephemeral. And then your fears are just what they sound like.
Sure.
So this is the part where you can roll randomly if you want. It's also because for the convince table, most of the time it's rolled randomly. So that you sort of build an NPC on the fly, unless it's like a major NPC.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you put your 2 wants, your 2 values, and your 2 fears, and then you can sort of decide what they mean together.
Sure.
So since you're rolling random.
2d12 then for this? Or
it's 1d12 twice.
1d12 twice. Perfect.
These are for when it's done during the game, so you can ignore that.
I like it. Okay. So I'm going to roll randomly, see if I like it.
Okay, that's fair.
Food, that makes sense. And finery.
Oh, interesting.
I want nice things. I want nice food.
2 and a 9. So I love art and entrance. So I'm a social climber.
Oh,
I'm trying
that makes a lot of sense for your character.
Yep. So it's like I said, he was sort of a dapper rat at the top. So like just loves decoration and really is a social climbing rat. And then how this interacts with values is usually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I put wants to eat more refined foods for my character. Like more like 5-star restaurant style meals instead of like on the side of the road fungi.
Right.
All right, for values 5 and 12, touch and spirituality.
Oh, that's
interesting.
That is interesting. I got family and power, so this is like a mob rat. Like organized crime rat.
Seriously.
Yeah, I guess it's almost self-evident. Like, I don't know how much I need to expand. But
I think the colony, like the collective mind of my colonies, communicates through touch. They like communicate through touch, electrical signals and stuff like that. As an individual with this symbiote, I can speak, and I can also communicate through the touch as well with other fungi creatures that are sentient. So I do value that touch, and it's a sense of trust to share a touch with another person, even if they aren't a fungi. And that's kind of also in the spirituality realm too, where like you share like part of yourself when you're communicating in that sort of way. So like there's kind of this spiritual, almost ritualistic feel to communicating with another fungi.
I think that's really interesting. Yeah. And once again, taking it in directions that I never even imagined, but I think it's good. For me, family and power, I think it's the like really power hungry and self-serving, but makes an exception for those that he is closest to.
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of, it's not a show.
Yeah.
Like, he does legitimately care
Yep.
about the people that he cares about.
Absolutely. And then fears. Oh, interesting. A place and the supernatural.
Oh, interesting.
There is a kind of like a folk thing passed down from generations ago.
Mm-hmm.
There is a memory of the origin of the creatures that inhabit the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a place to be avoided at all costs. And because it is a source of all this supernatural sort of weirdness in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of instinctually born into all fungi to fear this place and the supernatural that comes from it. So going into this darkness in our first adventure is terrifying.
Yep.
For Charles.
So, I'm going to do just a quick pause. So the way that this it is like sort of building like what your character wants, but it also has a mechanics element.
Okay.
So if there's the convince like for NPCs, but convince works similarly to other PBTA games.
Yeah.
If you're trying to convince another MC. So if you can work in one of their touchstones, you roll with advantage when you're trying to convince them.
Yep.
So, and going into the darkness, that might be actually a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
For me, I got disease, which is sort of both like plays against type.
Yeah.
And also, or plays against expectations. But this is a very dapper rat.
It is a very dapper rat, so it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yep. And creature or creatures. So I think that like the fear of like not only the primordial alligator that sort of slithers in the darkness that we talked about earlier is a fear, but sort of all alligators have sort of come to like represent that to this character. So sort of I'm gonna say gators and just disease. Being a dapper rat is like clean and a germaphobe.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then, do you have connections on yours?
I do. It says everyone goes around and introduces their character, then go around again and pick 2 connections below for 2 different characters. Now, since we're one-on-one, right? It feels like we should have a connection. I don't have connections on the sheet, though.
Yeah, no, that's... So once again... Oh, boy. I should have maybe done this at home, but, you know what? Yep.
It's a play test, and this is where I would figure out a connection with your character, right? And if we had a larger group, probably 2 different characters. If I were running this at a table, 2 players only, I would say get 2 connections with one another.
Yeah, but that is good to know. Okay, and yeah, I think being able to do this stuff on the fly is definitely a GM skill. But I do have connections written down for mine. So. I think you harbor an old grudge against another character. Tell them why you haven't completely forgiven them after all these years. I think, let me take a look at I think that somehow you kept me from getting elected to some sort of position, specifically in the caravan. And it wasn't intentional. But I haven't quite let go of it yet.
Okay.
And I think I'm willing to let it be ambiguous for now and then figure it out through play.
Okay.
But there's a seed all right. And then, like, that's about it. And then you would mark everything on the back of the sheet. There's place for your stats. If you want to make notes about each of the moves, I left some space for that. Like, you mark your distrust. Experience works really similarly. The only thing, because I've included group moves, when somebody rolls a 6 or less on a group move, you both mark experience as sort of a way to both encourage their use and also to sort of just know that if you mess somebody else up because you failed, like, there's an advantage for both of you.
Oh, that's nice.
The fate tracker and then a conditions tracker, because this uses conditions. And when you fill up all of your conditions, and they're both mental and physical, you got to start marking fate points. Similar to, like, carved in brindlewood, which was also...
I like it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's making some people.
That's making some people. That was fantastic. I like a lot of what's going on here. I think that you have the bones of something pretty fantastic. So
thank you.
Keep at it. I do have a couple more questions before we close out the interview. So what was the process like developing these particular character creation mechanics?
So I think PBTA is really interesting. I don't know how familiar you are with DJing or electronic music.
Very, very little knowledge.
So there's a program that came out like in the mid-2000s called Fruity Loops that was available to everybody, and it was extremely easy to use. So there was sort of this explosion of just like people sort of creating their own music using Fruity Loops. And it wasn't perfect,
right?
But it did allow people sort of like early access to sort of get into like producing stuff like that. I think sort of PBTA is similar. Yeah. So I like had a lot of hooks to sort of hang where I wanted to go with this.
Yeah.
But like a lot of like Fruity Loops is also very simple. So a lot of things that I wanted to do, it felt like playbooks didn't work out exactly. So it sort of added the Kith and Kin mechanics to it. I also wanted something where sort of in a lot of folklore specifically, like what something represents changes. Yeah. So sort of having those signature moves in there that sort of change how people or how you interact with the world as this particular archetype felt like something that was really important to me. And then later on, when like sort of the fate system came on and me trying to figure out how to incorporate ideas of transformation in there, like having the Kith and Kin meant that it was easy to just change one of them out. And literally, like, with the character sheet like this, and I need to figure out if it's just going to go over your old sheet or if you just put it in a box, but you can literally change it out. So, and I think it helps that the Kin is the one that goes on top. So it's like your, like how the world sees you literally changes. In fact, not to get too meta. And also that's how it works in the character sheet. So,
no, that's pretty cool.
So that's sort of how it evolved over time.
And I know you said you had a few inspirations. I heard like the Brindlewood stuff potentially, and Chimera as well. Shout out to my game. So what sort of inspirations did you have for these sorts of mechanics of creating your characters and playbooks? So Chimera and Brindlewood were definitely there. I think Monster of the Week was the first PBTA game that I ever played, so it's like impossible. You know, that's always sort of clicking in the back because it's sort of my, it was sort of my introduction. I can't really express how, but I think Pasión de las Pasiones, like, sort of changed how I approached a lot of things. I think the group moves, like, there was a seed there that sort of sprouted into, like, everybody having group moves to think of how you interact with your other players, because so much of that game
is like player to player interaction. So like putting like mechanics behind that felt like an easier thing to do.
Yeah.
After playing that game.
Absolutely. Very cool.
So yeah.
Gosh, I really want to play this game so bad. Once it gets out of its alpha play state, definitely hit me up because I would be very down for play testing.
We could do
an actual game.
We could do a Discord on the Character Creation Cast.
Absolutely.
Discord. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, Carlos, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Under and Above.
Thank you. And yeah, thank you for having me. This has been great.
Absolutely. Could you remind everyone where they can find you online?
You can find me. I decided not to do a Twitter/X just because of all the problems, like structurally, but also sort of Elon Musk as a person. Like there's no perfect capitalist, but he's been pretty abhorrent recently. You might have to cut that. I don't know. So I'm on Blue Sky at Carlos Makes Games, and I'm also on Instagram, Carlos Makes Games. So either of those places, you can find me and follow the development of Under and Above.
There you go. Again, thank you so much for joining us for the special episode live from the AcadeCon 2023 floor. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to check out Carlos on social media to follow the progress of this game. And there will be a link to those in these show notes. So head on over there right now. And we'll see you next time, everyone. Call to action.
Yeah, like that.
Okay, so I know you've been busy, Amelia, but have you had a chance to listen to the episode?
I have not.
Of course.
What?
So,
of course.
Of course.
I've not done very much podcast listening at all lately.
I know it's been a busy time for both of us. I haven't also been able to listen to too many podcasting things. I'm editing more than listening lately, so I get it. I wish I want to be able to do this with you in person. Like the two of us interviewing a designer. Yeah. Like the next convention we do, it'd be awesome to set some time aside for that because it is a really fun experience. Yeah. Meeting Carlos was an absolute joy. Carlos is a fantastic individual. He came there with his wife and child, and that child is just so adorable. And like the game itself, it's in alpha state, so there was a few things that needed to get ironed out, but like it's fantastic. Yeah. Like he borrowed the playbook insertion from Chimera. Nice. Which was really nice. And like a few other like nice non-PBTA influences for this PBTA game. Really cool all the way around. I'm really looking forward to see what this game is like once it gets a bit more polished. Yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about being there, like the alpha stage too, is that you get to eventually see how much it changes and how much it grows too. So that'll be cool to see once it's further along too. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Carlos, definitely hit us up once you are getting ready for releasing, because I would love to take a second look at it in another spotlight and see kind of what it looks like in its final form. That'd be really cool. Definitely. Before we let you go for the day, though, here are our calls to action. Yeah. Do you like romance in your TTRPGs? Yes. Do you like previous guest on the show, Alex Roberts? I do. How about previously covered games, Star-Crossed? Ooh, it's a good one. If so, you should check out the new expansion for Star-Crossed called Love Letters. I don't know why I wrote this like an advertisement. Also, I'm interrupting. That is like, there's no spot to like in our outline for me answering these questions. Just like, yes. I appreciate it very much. So yeah, this game, it has a lot of new cool things for Star-Crossed in this expansion, including playing without a tower, playing by yourself, playing with more than two people, playing online, You can even play games with multiple tables of StarCraft going on that are all part of the same story.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new epilogue table that you can chart against for like when you finish the game, and a whole bunch more. Like they fit a whole bunch into this, and it's like $15 for the physical book.
Yeah, it's a really
itself.
good deal.
Yeah, it's like a ridiculously good deal. If you don't have the original game, you can get the original game, a copy of the original game through this as well.
Mm-hmm.
That will have the book as well. And what's nice is they designed the booklet that will fit into the game box as well.
Oh, cool.
Along with the original game. So like you don't even need new packaging for it.
Nice.
So like everything is fantastic about this. Alex is just a remarkable designer.
Mm-hmm.
This is easily one of my favorite games ever since we covered it like way back in series 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, early
63
days.
series ago.
Yeah, we recorded it before the show was even out yet. It was like one of the very beginning ones.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
It was so long ago,
We were
but
baby
definitely.
podcasters.
I know. Definitely check this one out, though. If you are interested, we will have a link to it in the show notes. Please support Alex. She is amazing, and this game looks phenomenal.
Outside of helping friend of the show, Alex Roberts, and a bunch of amazing guest artists and writers and everything on the project, there are a few ways you could help us out as well. The most direct method is to back us on Patreon. Life has been rough for both of us lately, and giving to us on Patreon not only lets us know how much you care about what we do here, but it really does help both of us out tremendously. We could not afford to make this show without all of your help. And even at the $1 a month level, you get lots of perks, like our bonus chit chat episodes where we talk about all of the different mugs that I own. So that's pretty cool. You get special Discord channels, and you get a special thank you from us at every episode, which is what we're going to do right now, right this minute.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lieutenant and DJG, aka Tigranosaurus. Your support brings us so much joy.
Eric Bonds and Daryl Holiday II, we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Shadim Cabal and the Shyest Barbarian. We could not do this without you.
Benjamin Sweeney and Lorcan McGinnis, thank you so much.
Rob Fletcher and Kevin Brown, thank you both.
Tentacle Duck and Cole McCallum, you rock. Thank you.
John Adamus and the maddeningly melodious menagerie of Mary's marvelously modern mariachi marsupial masquerade. Thank you for your continued support.
Many thanks to guest on the show today, Carlos Salazar and Eric S.
Thank you, Ross Kingston and Ian Potmeyer. We couldn't do it without you.
Sorry Goth and Liam G, thanks for making this all possible.
Brian Colm and Garden GM, thanks for your continued support.
Thanks to Dark Mirror and Tom. So glad to have you backing us.
Thanks, Blue Kryptonite and Danny. We are really glad to have you here.
Nicole Trainer and Liam Murray, our deepest thanks to you as well.
And Kenning and Brian Kurtz, we appreciate your support. Thank you.
And thank you to all of our future supporters. If you do decide to join on at the $5 and up level, we do have a ton of great physical rewards for all of you as well. So head on over to patreon.com/charactercreationcast to check out all the wonderful stuff we have on hand.
If you're already backing the show or you are unable to at this time, there is another way you can help us out by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, or Facebook. We'll read out any 5-star reviews right here, and we will thank you personally as well. Right now, we still don't have any reviews. I would like to issue a reminder that my birthday is on the 22nd. So if you are looking to get me something, but if you want a free way to help support us, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And that's all for today's episode. Join us next time where I interviewed Michael Ross from the RPG Academy and AcadeCon about his upcoming game, Action 12 Cinema. It was a fantastic time, and I hope you'll check it out. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, everyone. Stay safe, drink some water, avoid those mushrooms in the wild, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at CreationCast, or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter and Blue Sky at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can also be found in the show notes. If you'd like to support our show, find us on Patreon. Get access to bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and much more at patreon.com/charactercreationcast. Thanks for joining us. And remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We'll see you next time.